Hello, 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 everyone. I have been doing really well since the end of January. Thank you. I'm just very thankful about that. And as a consequence, I've been doing a lot of stuff. So it's kind of funny because I really believe that my written blog, tenderparts.ca, and doing this and what all of that represents for me has been a big part of why I've been doing so much better than I was doing before. Like January was just a disaster, and in some ways, much of the last 5 years, while I wouldn't call it disastrous, has just not been as good. There have been certainly patches of it that have been great, but anyway, we'll see how long we can keep this going for. And that's kind of apropos of what this video is about, because I came across the work of this amazing doctor by the name of Dr. David Healy. And if you go to my blog at tenderparts.ca, I'll put in the comments to this the link to the post about Dr. Healy, because he has several websites up, and he's really a very, very strong, smart, eloquent, insightful, visionary spokesperson around the issue of medication, especially psychotropic medication, psychiatric drugs, how they're used, how they're marketed, developed, and tested, and the impact that all of that is having on psychiatry and the medical profession in general. And I'm actually amazed that I didn't notice what went down with him. Well, when he was going through his stuff, I actually wasn't in the country, I'm now realizing. I was actually in South America. It's just hitting me. So that might have been why I didn't catch it at the time. But he had a really senior job offer here that was rescinded within days of his giving a lecture that was only incidentally critical of a drug that was developed by an organization that, a company that partially funded, I think, the department he was about to take over. So he has paid a professional price for his position. And over the years, he, I think, has become a much more strident, certainly as I gather it from the internet, his position is very much, these drugs are poison, which I would never disagree with, having taken enough of them. And I think the message that might be somewhat missing, though, is there are times when their use is necessary. And I actually wrote him about this and got a response, which was quite flattering, suggesting that he might want to put something up on his websites for people such as myself who have actually, despite the fact that we're aware of what the harm of these drugs can be, and the fact that some of these drugs are so new that we really don't know what their effects may be, we still make a free choice to use them. And fortunately, some of us are supported by our physicians in a manner that is responsive and cautious, whereas I think part of what Dr. Healy is speaking out against is the fact that thanks to pharmaceutical companies, there are whole standards of care which are very inflexible around how these medications should be used. And that's actually causing more harm than good. My point to Dr. Healy was that, someone like him is a real hero to someone like me. To see someone who is so smart and so talented have the courage to speak out against a massive, pharmaceutical companies and the income they generate in the United States are probably only second to the financial industry, and I don't think went through any kind of crash either. So to do what he does, I think is really so inspiring on the one hand. And yet, on the other hand, it kind of creates a bit of cognitive dissonance for me, because I'm thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't be taking any of these drugs, and maybe I should just stop. And I'm aware enough to know that people make those choices, and sometimes when we make those choices, they're good choices, and we do very well as a consequence. Sometimes when we make them, they ain't so great. And so that was kind of my message to Dr. Healy, and the idea of sort of being between the devil and the deep blue sea where psychiatric drugs are concerned is a tough one, because we're not only are we, if we're conscious and aware, making these difficult choices between our physical and our mental well-being, and sometimes where the positives are now and the negatives are way, way, way down the road, and we may not know what they are, and they're not certain whether they'll develop, even the ones that we do know. And then we're also facing this huge sort of medical corporate pharmacological complex, which is making it harder and harder, even for physicians, which I think is Dr. Healy's, is one of the places he's taking his insight. And I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on his new book, because I think what he's saying is that, medicine is changing, and it's not changing in a good way, and it's changing in a large part because of these things. So yeah, he's amazing on the one hand, and yet, there is this tension in terms of the choice I have to make every single day. Like, do I take this medication? Do I not take this medication? Now, fortunately for me, I've been doing that for long enough, and I have enough support that I think I do make pretty good choices most of the time. But it's tough. So sayonara for now. I hope I finally got this video up in a decent form, because God knows I had problems today. I got some light, so production values are improving that way. And I forgot this evening I was going to go buy, well, I wasn't really going to do that, but something was like, oh, I should go into Staples and buy X. And I couldn't remember what X was. But of course, X is a better webcam and a better microphone, so that I don't record a whole video that actually you can't hear me. Anyway, good night, everyone. Take care. Thanks very much for watching.